You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com, and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies, this is AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Glee After Show.
Oh, such a beautiful song.
Yeah.
And such a hard episode tonight. All you Glee.
It was so serious. Let's not be serious right now, actually. Let's lighten up the mood.
I know, Sarah wants to have a dance party. I don't know if that's exactly the mood that all Gleeks are in right now. So Bing is for doing, and we're obviously here doing another Glee after show. This is a tough one. It's called Shooting Star. It is an episode that has a lot of controversy around it. It was all about school shootings and school violence, and we've seen it all across America. These issues come up, and Glee, like every other time, is tackling these issues, and we're going to talk about all of that, as well as some news and gossip later on, because a lot has happened since the last episode aired. And I'm Stephanie Wenger.
Hi, everyone. I'm Marisa Serafini.
And I'm Sarah Mendoza.
And maybe we should just jump right into it and talk about the biggest topic of the night, which was obviously, we kind of saw tension building throughout the episode, and you eventually get to the point where you hear what we all knew was coming. They promoted this episode as an unthinkable event happens at McKinley.
Right.
And when you hear the title Shooting Star, I think most Gleeks put it together and realized this is about a school shooting.
Right.
Right.
And if you guys noticed, before the episode actually started, they actually put up the title card that kind of warned viewers that it would be about school violence. So, and I think that's, and I think there were some articles about it too.
Yeah, we're going to talk about them
being
in a little bit.
sensitive about the topic that was about to be addressed in the episode.
Absolutely. And I thought that it was an interesting way of addressing it. We'll talk about it in a little more, but it just kind of, to me, felt like they were trying to address something that is really a difficult topic to jump into, and it didn't necessarily feel like any other Glee episode that I've seen. It had this very serious tone. There weren't the jokes. We only had 3 songs in the episode.
Right.
Right. It was very serious, and I like how Glee always cover serious topics that need to be addressed, and I think Glee executed this very well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that there were a lot of ways to go with it, and they did it in a way that the camera angles, while it was hard to watch at times, it felt like you were watching almost more documentary. It didn't feel Glee. It felt something different.
Right, and I noticed that too. A lot of the scenes, it had the handheld kind of motion, and that gave the audience that voyeuristic type of a realistic feeling that you're actually there in the scene. You can feel everything that the characters are feeling.
Yeah. Normally with Glee episodes, you know, there's a joke inserted every at least minute or so, right?
Yeah.
Some corniness, something to make you laugh, a song. But, you know, in this episode, when they addressed that scene where the shooting, the alleged shooting was happening, it felt like that whole segment, whole 7 to 10 minute segment, was serious and, like you said, shot differently. There was no laughing, there was no joking going on. They really took it seriously in the way that they portrayed that kind of event happening.
And I think we also see in the news all the time still photos and footage of kids exiting these schools after these tragedies have happened. And what was great about the Glee episode tonight was we had those documentary moments. Like, I don't think you get that very often. You get after the fact the way that Columbine and these events have affected these kids, but to have in the moment that, you know, documentary style, like, what are you thinking, what are you feeling, was a very interesting aspect of the episode.
Yeah. Well, what I felt was very powerful was that the episode actually took you into the classroom and showed you what students might have experienced going through this in real life in, you know, the events that had happened to us here in America. Yeah. Usually we see the news stories and it's everybody panicking and rushing outside, and as you said, the aftermath. But here the Glee students are in that situation. And what I found to be very touching was when they did incorporate the home video recording, you know, should something happen to them, they decided to record messages for their loved ones. Yeah. In case, you know, they didn't make it out alive, that they would have something to be remembered by and a message that they could give.
And those confessionals were very heartwarming and like very touching, especially because I like literally just FaceTimed my whole family tonight, and what those characters were saying, what they wanted to say to their mother, to their fathers, you know, that really hit home. Yeah. And you know, you have to say those things, and especially during times like you don't know if you'll have your last moment to say those things to the ones you love.
I feel like in terms of the bigger Glee storyline, this is going to be possibly a game changer episode. I think we saw this episode where this shooting happened, but we haven't seen that aftermath yet, and it's going to change relationships and things like that. It looks like we do have a caller, though, if we want to jump to a caller real quick.
Caller, you're on the line with the Glee AfterBuzz TV After Show.
Great. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going? What's your name?
My name is Michael.
Great. Where are you calling?
I'm actually calling from San Bernardino. I'm at school right now.
Oh, great. Cool. And did you get a chance to see the episode tonight?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think? Do you think they handled the shooting well?
You know what? I actually think they did a really good job. I know it's one of those issues that is very hard to cover on any show, but I feel like they did a really good job.
Yeah, I feel like Glee always kind of has those issue-based episodes. Was there any, you know, moment, we were just talking about all of the way that the episode was shot with those kind of confessionals. Do you think that was an effective storytelling method?
You know what? I wasn't expecting it, but I appreciate it because if you were in a situation like that and you didn't know whether you would make it out alive, you would want to do something like that and let your loved ones know that how much you love them, and no matter what happens, that you were the last thought in their minds if anything were to happen to you, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Right. And it almost was, you know, I personally felt it was surprising how much Sam and Brittany loved each other, and it came out in that way because they're forced in a situation where they can only think about, you know, what really matters. So, you know, in those situations, sometimes you learn something like Brittany and Sam might have about how deeply they feel for each other. Were you surprised by that as well? Or is that something you expected from their character and their relationship?
I mean, I kind of knew that there was an inkling for it, but just as in real life, you know, when you're put into situations in which are very, very scary, you know, your true feelings sort of come out because you never know. Life is very, very short, and if, God forbid, something were to happen to me, I would want to let my family or my loved one know, you know, that they're always in my thoughts, and no matter what happens, that I will always be thinking about them.
We were mentioning that this episode's a game changer in a lot of ways. Shows typically use these type of episodes to kind of launch a whole nother arc of a story. Do you have any predictions of what's going to happen? Maybe couples reuniting or couples splitting up because of this?
As of right now, I kind of don't know because, I mean, we just saw what happened right now, and so we might see next week, you know, the aftermath because we only got to see a little bit. But what blew my mind is how Sue took the heat for Becky, and I really appreciated Sue for that because Becky, poor Becky, she like, I feel so bad for her in this episode.
Right.
I mean, she's struggling with, I think, things that a lot of young adults are dealing with, but she obviously kind of is taking it to the extreme by bringing that gun to school, and I felt really terrible for her as well.
I mean, from personal experience, you know, I've worked with, you know, students who are like Becky, who need special needs, and my mom and my brother is like that. And, you know, it is tough out for them out there because there's not a lot of options because of the constant, you know, supervision and the care that they need. But I appreciate that there are people out there like Sue who was, you know, willing to put everything on the line, and she did for Becky to protect her.
Yeah. Do you think it was a fair portrayal of Becky tonight? Do you think, having experience working with mentally disabled people?
Well, in some cases, there are some, you know, some of the kids that I work with, you know, they are scared because, but that's with any young adolescent because the future is unknown, and when you're ready to come out of high school and go into the real world, you never know what's going to happen. And I do believe that Becky's portrayal tonight, it kind of sums up kind of some of the experiences that some of the kids with special needs go through. But there are people out there like Sue who are willing to help them, so I really appreciated that.
No, I completely agree. I thought that was really sweet, the way that she stepped in and kind of took.
And more so for me, it just reminded me of the struggle that some, you know, a lot of people that age, they go through.
I thought it was something that, like, obviously Glee always takes it to a little bit to the extreme, but it's something that we can all identify with, for sure.
Right.
Exactly. You know, I know from personal experience, when I went to my first year in college, like the first day I got here, I started crying because I didn't know, like, I'll be honest, I'm an emotional person. But
it's okay, we are too, Michael, don't worry.
I wasn't sure how things were going to work out because college is a whole another ball game from high school, but, you know, with strong support from family and then friends I met up here, it's made the transition easier. And I think that I kind of would like to see that, you know, with Becky and some of the other kids who are feeling that the future is unknown. As long as you have a strong support system and you keep going for whatever you want to go for, I think you'll be okay.
I completely agree, and I hope that that's kind of what we see in season 5. I really appreciate you calling us, Michael. You had a great perspective tonight.
Thank you so much for listening in.
No problem. Yeah. I watch you guys every single week. It makes
what is your Twitter so we can follow you and you know, keep in touch with what you think about the seasons?
Well, on Twitter you can follow me at Million Voices Radio because I do like music and stuff like that.
Okay, great.
We'll definitely check it out. Thank you so much again for calling, and feel free to call back anytime.
He's gone.
Great.
Thank you.
Yes. So moving on, we should talk a little bit about what actually happened in this episode with the shooting. So we talked about it a little bit on the phone call. Becky, in fact, they never knew who the shooter was. They're searching through the school, and we see all these security measures, and after the Glee Club is hidden, and they're still looking for this gun, and they can't find it anywhere. And you hear Sue have this conversation with Will about that she was the one who had the gun in her office, and she was the one who was responsible. She accidentally shot it. And I was actually a little surprised by that. I thought that was a weird twist in the episode because Sue never seemed like that person and like that individual that would necessarily have a gun in her office.
Right. So when she was confessing or, you know, lying about confessing, I knew something was up. I just couldn't put my finger on it.
Yeah, I mean, because we've never heard her talk about that she was concerned about security at school and things of that sort, so it seemed like an odd turn. I completely agree with you.
If it was real, then I just would have thought that would have been such a weird twist of, like, out of nowhere plot point where all of a sudden Sue's got a gun, you know? But now, you know, after we find out the thing that happened with Becky and now she's trying to cover it up, that seems more in character with how Sue would be for me.
I can kind of believe that Sue would have the gun, because we've seen Sue all these years that she is a very routinely person. She has her, her milkshakes, protein shakes, in the morning and stuff. And so we see her doing like all these things repeatedly, but we never really can't picture her with a gun. But seeing her, everyday routines and her checking, her lockbox for this gun, I kind of believe it a little bit.
Interesting. That was not something where my mind was like, who really is this? Who is she covering up for? And I mean, I did think of Becky because in the entire episode she was mentioning that she was worried about the future, worried about like leaving, and I think that, as we said, a real life concern for everybody. And she but this gun, it made me so sad to see when they had her accidentally shoot the gun. It just felt terrible, at least to me.
Yes, but I loved how Sue immediately rushed over to her and comforted her like a parent would, like any person you would to, someone who's going through such an emotional state.
Yeah, they have such a mother-daughter relationship.
Yes.
Sorry, Sue.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, and that's part of the reason why I think viewers and even myself, and I don't know exactly how you guys feel, but for Sue, she has got so many nasty qualities about her, right? She, like, everything that comes out of her mouth is snarky, rude, disrespectful, but then there's just these small redeeming things about her, like her caring for Becky and the plotline with her sister in the previous seasons, that shows that more human, loving side of her. I think that makes me and a lot of viewers that I've talked to attached to her.
That's one of my personal favorite parts about the show, is that kind of these characters who have the hard shell, you often find that they have these sweet sides to them, and I think that that's the case in a lot of. There's a reason why you have the hard shell. Like, maybe you are that sweet person. I feel like that's a real life thing that I come across, and so it makes the show very relatable.
Right.
What was interesting, pulling from real life, was this catfishing, and they mention that it happened in real life to the football player Mateo. There you go.
Yeah.
And
I called it this whole time. I was like, this person is not the person in the pictures. I know it.
I know. And he starts singing Blake.
Your song.
Yeah, your song.
Ryder.
And I was just like, this is the cutest. It was so cute. And you want it to be the girl. I wanted it to be the girl, but I knew it wasn't.
Right, because she was so, like, taken aback, like, whoa, where is this coming from? Like, why is this hot guy all of a sudden sweeping me off my feet? And in that moment, I was like, oh, not her.
Yeah.
It's not her.
I find it interesting how they picked a girl for Ryder's character that looks so much like Kitty.
I know. Well, I felt like they were trying to dress her so differently than Kitty, just to differentiate
To draw the line.
Yeah, because she was like with the Vera Bradley backpack, and
But
like,
physically, like, if you put those two next to each other, you probably wouldn't tell who's who.
Well, it could have been one of those things where they did it on purpose so it would throw you off, so that your mind would naturally go to, oh my God, it's Kitty. Maybe it's Kitty.
Because we definitely talked about it, and we were like, Kitty? Could it be Kitty?
I know Roxy for sure thought it was it was Kitty.
I thought it was interesting how the first time we see Ryder talking to this mysterious girl, they actually showed the physical, features kind of partially of her face talking, and then we saw Blake talking back and forth to each other. But this time we just saw the black and white outlines that's just like strictly just graphic. There's no human qualities. It was just black and white outline of a face. So it could have been anyone.
You know what I was starting to think, also tying it into the storyline of the shooting, the fact that this secret girl doesn't show up at 3:30, and the only person I could have thought of at the moment was Becky. Being that, but I don't know now, but it did cross my mind that because Becky wasn't there because she's going through all this stuff, with the Sue shooting gun thing, that now she can't show up and see Ryder.
You know how we really didn't want it to be a cliffhanger of who this girl was?
Yes.
I have this odd feeling now, and we'll get into this in predictions, we're going to have that season finale. Like, I don't think that that's happening in the next couple episodes. I think we're going to get that at the very end.
Oh my God.
They're gonna drag it on even more.
Yeah.
Seriously, I just want to know.
Sarah's going
so
crazy here.
Bad. I was like, please don't cliffhanger me right now. I've been guessing for weeks.
But they
It's
did.
so true, but
We should take bets and see, you know.
I know. Maybe next week we'll have a little game of that.
Right.
But-
Let's know what Michael thinks too.
No, exactly. Tweet us, let us know. But catfishing, thought what was also interesting was he had such a high school boy reaction to it. Once he found out that it wasn't the girl, he literally accused everyone of faking him out. And why would you do this? And I was just like, that is every high school boy that I knew. They would just be like, what are you doing? Like, they would have had the same reaction. I felt like that was a very well portrayed moment.
He just exploded.
Yeah,
And
I think it was well done because I keep calling him Blake, but Ryder, because that's such a secretive thing of Ryder, and then him to immediately just blurt it out to everyone like, oh, I was doing this, and how could you do this to me? And everyone's like, what? You're instant messaging this mystery person? I didn't know this. So I thought it was interesting how he immediately just made it public.
Yeah, I like that as well.
Now going back to Blake Jenner, the actor who plays Ryder, like I have to commend him for his acting skills in this episode because that emotion was completely believable to me. Yeah. And not only that, going back to the scene again, the shooting scene in the classroom, I was very surprised by everybody's performance.
Yeah.
That they were able to emote that way because usually we don't see that deep, anguish within those characters, but for tonight,
I thought
they played it very well.
Blake and Cord and Darren, to me, like, they all did a fantastic job in that room. I think that that's an extremely hard thing to shoot, and you know that was not a one-take experience. They were there for hours working on that 10-minute experience. But they, I thought it was great. Those three actors, to me at least, really stood out as being phenomenal in those scenes and really just like, you could tell fighting that.
You can just see it in their eyes that they really were putting themselves in the shoes of people who have gone through that.
Yeah.
In their real life.
The acting was great, especially in that scene when they were all there in the choir room. There was literally no music. The only sound you heard was a metronome. And I kind of liked the fact that they did that because it mimicked the heartbeat kind of, and you just like, you can just feel everything and hear everything in there.
Yeah, I just thought that
just elevated everyone's performance.
I would love to talk to some of the actors about like their process and getting into that because some of them really, it just felt like they must have like read tons about all these school shootings and really done the research because it felt so heavy and it was hard to watch at times, I felt like. But let us know what you think. You can go on iTunes. We love hearing from you. You call us, tweet us, but going on iTunes is the best way. Rate and comment on our show. It makes us do better shows for you, tells us what you want, what you like, all of that good stuff. So
we want to talk about what you want to talk about.
Exactly. And we want to make sure if there's a couple like Finchel or whoever you're interested in, we want to make sure that we're covering that for you. So let us know. A couple that I was kind of not expecting tonight is Will and Beast. That was one of those scenes where I was just like, is this happening? We all knew where it was going when she invites him to dinner and they're sitting there and she's like, I've never been so nervous in my entire life. And you're like, oh, she's admitting that she's in love with him. I mean, that's it has to be that. And of course she does. She says that, you're the first one I've kissed. Like, I want you to be the man in my life. And it was kind of heartbreaking, at least to me, to see Will tell her that, in fact, he's back with Emma.
Yeah, but it was very nice to see Will, like, making the effort to helping Beast. In the end of the episode, we see that he sets up this E Symphony? Yeah. This online dating program for Beast. So he's helping her out in that way. So just his nice way of saying, I can't be with you, but I can help you be happy.
Yeah, I also
Right.
love the fact that Emma's old boyfriend was the first like match. First sight, I was just like, oh, so Glee of you.
Ken Tanaka.
Well, I just love that Beast is still a part of the show. You know, she kind of like goes away for a little bit, but then her character comes back, and I just love that storyline of Beast trying to find love, because yeah, she was heartbroken before, and you know, we all want to see Beast happy. She's one of the cool, you know, fun characters of the bunch.
Exactly. I feel like everybody cheers for her. Like, she's the one who struggles and whatever. At least every Glee I know is a big fan of hers and wants her to find love. And like, I just want to see her like walk down the McKinley hallway with her holding somebody's hand. That's like what I dream about. But I thought that was like a nice kind of lighter, but probably not light to Beast, but lighter moment in the episode. It was a nice reprieve from.
Yeah. The focus on their friendship is very light.
Yeah, and we kind of saw couples uniting. We mentioned it on the phone call as well, but you know, Sam and Brittany having that moment where he gives her the cat, and they're like, "I love you," and it's sweet because she's obviously choosing him. You know, and he's choosing her, and we've seen those two characters as well struggle with love over the course of the.
Well, there's a perfect example of how the incident from this episode is changing a relationship or being that shifting factor for somebody in the show.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen them this serious until now. And it seems like, you know, with Lord and now, what is
Lady
it? Lady Tubington.
Yes, Lady.
They've got a going family now.
Exactly, and they're going to share the new cat. It's super sweet.
Sweet.
It really is. And then another couple that kind of changed from this, I guess not really couple, friendship, whatever you want to say, is Blaine and Tina. Yes, I was just like, Tina.
They seem to have gotten closer, yeah.
It was cute to see them holding hands, supporting each other. I think that's what that relationship has become, is like a support system for each other, at least in tonight's episode, for sure.
Yes.
I felt, and I do feel bad for Tina, how like during that whole incident, she was outside and she wanted to know what's going on and like wanted to be there with the Glee people, and just to see that separation was hard to watch. And we're like, oh my gosh, that was real.
It was such a short scene, but it was such a necessary scene because, you know, that's what we've seen. I've said seen a million times now, but that's what we've seen in the media, that side of things. So we're reminded about what people actually experience on the outside with their loved ones being inside.
Yeah, it's true. You can imagine
how they show both of them.
It's interesting because they don't have the parent perspective in this episode. That was kind of what was missing. But in a lot of ways, Tina was that. She was
representative.
the outside of kind of, and it was nice to see her reunited with the Glee Club, and that hug at the end felt kind of like a good, I don't know, really sweet. Also tonight, there were a few songs. Because of this shooting, we kind of didn't have our normal 7 or 8 songs. There were only 3, but we can talk about those. And they started out with Ryder singing that Elton John song, Your Song, and
one of my faves.
It's a good one, and it was so sweet. It was just an endearing performance to me.
I liked it when he picked her up and like put her on the piano to serenade her. I was like, you get it, Blake. You are good. You are a charmer.
I like that, but I thought it was a bit weird how this girl that you're literally just meeting, getting a little bit physical with her.
Yeah.
And
he totally thought it was Katie.
See, I think he was like going from 0 to 100, which like I think any girl would just be like, hold on, wait a second. But she seemed really charmed by it and was like, can I have your number even though I'm not the girl, which I was.
Well, I understood his side because, you know, it's been weeks and weeks of, you know, talking to this girl who he thinks is the girl on the phone, and that anticipation and building up to that moment where they finally see each other and he thinks this is the moment. You know, like he's just, I feel like a man or a boy or whatever would be like, oh yeah, I finally get to meet meet you. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you everything I've been thinking about in my mind, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's what I would do if I was a guy.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be interesting if you were the female who was just literally meeting this guy for the first time. He's serenading you and getting, like, literally picking you up and putting you on a piano and singing to you. I found that interesting how she let him do that.
Mm-hmm. That's
allow
true.
that.
I couldn't agree more. What did you think of More Than Words? It's New Directions, and it's an extreme song.
Sam and Brittany, you mean?
Yeah,
singing it.
Sam and Brittany. Yeah.
It was very sweet. I like that we get to have Brittany singing more and more because, as you remember, in the first seasons, we didn't get much of her singing. I feel like she might have taken voice lessons over the years because she seems to be getting better and better with her voice.
Yeah, I feel like they've all improved a lot. I think that they have a great vocal team on Glee that probably works with them all, and you know, and she's definitely included in that. And then the last song, we started the episode.
Actually, sorry. On that one, I thought it was interesting how they had somewhat of a candlelight visual during that.
It's true.
That was an interesting choice, especially for such a serious topic or a serious situation that happened in this episode. I thought it was how they were singing to a cat with candles.
Yeah, it was very interesting. It did feel, the songs were fitting tonight. Yeah. I felt like they did a great job in selecting them. The last one kind of felt like, you know how music brings everyone together? That's what I kept thinking about when they were singing Say by John Mayer. It was Sam kind of leading the New Directions.
Right. And also it was reinforcing, you know, the fact that, like with the home video, saying what you need to say to your loved ones in those kind of situations.
Yeah, and the theme of the episode of, not the episode, of the New Directions this week, or the topic they were doing was, like, what would you do if, you know,
your last song.
It was your last song, your last chance. And so it kind of felt like that was a fitting ending to that, that topic, if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, there was really no better song to choose to wrap everything up.
I know, and on that note, we can wrap up that portion of the show and move on to news and gossip.
Yeah.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So solemn.
We have a lot of news and gossip. So what was interesting was this episode, as I mentioned at the top of the show, had a lot of controversy around it. You'll remember that there's the Newtown shooting, which happened in December. The Newtown Victims Advocacy Group warned viewers actually to not watch this episode tonight. And people are kind of wondering, was it too soon to do an episode like this? Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
I do actually think it's a little too soon because that was such a serious event that happened, and that was literally 4 months ago, and I think it was too soon. It just reminds me, like, and I gotta mention this, like, Buffy had an episode with the school of a school shooting, and
so did Dawson's Creek.
Yeah, and that episode was literally supposed to air during when Columbine just happened, and they actually pushed that episode back by like 6 months.
I think I'm incorrect. It was One Tree Hill, but I remember I think they had pushed as well back a bit.
And you have to wonder when they decided to do this type of episode, if it was before that, or, you know, because I don't know how far ahead in advance.
I know that shows plan months in advance. It's interesting, and also that Fox went with it. They did not make them
pull it.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to remember, it's Ryan Murphy, though. He wants it out there when it's relevant, even if it's controversial.
Yeah, and he did tweet out, I was just about to mention that he tweeted out earlier this week, just saw a rough cut of Shooting Star. It's the most powerfully emotional Glee ever. So proud of the cast and crew. And so he knew exactly what he was producing, for sure.
Right. Maybe it's, you know, you never know, but maybe it's Ryan Murphy's way of, you know, coping and dealing with those types of...
And I applaud him. He did it very well. I still think it was a bit too soon while everything's still sensitive.
Yeah. To transition out of this episode specifically, we have some general Glee news gossip as well, which is Katie Siegel. I can never say her last name properly, but it's she's from Sons of Anarchy and Married with Children. She's joining the Glee cast for a stint as Artie's mom, which will be really fun. That's a sweet one for sure. And Ryan Murphy, as we were just talking about, has some more good news. He does take on controversy really well, but he has a he just got a pilot order from HBO for his show Open.
Nice.
And it's so exciting. I mean, if he doesn't have enough going on, clearly another show's great. And this is described as a modern, provocative exploration of human sexuality and relationship. The characters include a married couple in their 30s, the husband's male co-workers, and a female yoga instructor in her 40s. So with that mixed, you can only imagine what's to come, I'm sure.
And that's going to be HBO, so
there are very little limits on HBO.
Yes.
So, and then moving on to the personal lives, we've seen it all. There's been a lot of headlines about Glee cast members in the last couple weeks. Recently, though, Naya Rivera and the musician Big Sean kind of debuted their new relationship, you can say, on the red carpet for the film.
A different kind of coming out for Naya Rivera.
Exactly. Thank you, Sarah. Yeah. It's the new film 42 on Tuesday night here in Los Angeles at the ArcLight, or at the Chinese theater. So exciting for her, new relationship. Always fun to have that happen. And so Mark Salling also mentioned this week that he's really proud of Corey Monteith, who we found out 2 weeks ago now entered rehab for substance abuse. And he says it takes balls to go through that publicly. He talked about it, just that he's really proud of him and that that he's taking the right steps and all of that. And that's not the only Glee cast member to support Corey in taking this step to go to rehab. Leah Michelle, his girlfriend, also said, "I love and support Corey and will stand by him through this. I am grateful and proud he made this decision."
Right, and we also support Corey.
Of course
we do.
Yeah,
we're huge Corey fans and we're rooting for him all the way.
Exactly, and we want him back on the show and to, come back strong. So I'm hoping the best for him, absolutely. And lastly, this is big, game-changing news for Glee fans.
Oh, yeah.
Heather Morris, who
her family,
of course, Brittany on the show. I don't think she's officially announced it yet, but she is allegedly pregnant. So that'll be interesting to see how they handle that on Glee. Will she be back? How do you hide the baby
Where was
bump?
this announced? Where was it?
It's just been reported widely. I don't think she's actually admitted to it, but they have photos of her. I call it a mini baby bump.
Well, either way, that's great for her. And I read an interview. I can't exactly remember where.
I think I have it.
But she said that she always wanted to start a family, so good for her.
She says, "I wanted of her." Her boyfriend. I want to marry him so bad. That's what I really care about. I want to marry Tyler and have kids with him. I love acting, but if it affects my relationship, I won't continue doing it.
Right.
Which is, clearly she's putting family first.
And she's been with him for a while now, I think, right?
Yeah, it's a long-term relationship. I think it's her high school boyfriend, I want to say.
Well, congratulations.
So excited. Can't wait to see.
That's awesome.
And it's good. I thought it was also interesting how her character, Brittany, in this particular episode tonight said that, I have to move on too. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of foreshadowing, I felt like, in this episode. I kept marking down little notes about the foreshadowing. But you guys also went to a cool Glee event. We mentioned it on the show, the last show we did. It was a Glee project event. How was it?
Yeah, the Glee project, it was the concert project that was at the John Lovitz. It was fun. We saw Abraham and
who's
Nelly.
Us on the show.
Yes, Abraham, Nelly,
Michael,
and
who
Michael.
else is there?
Eileen, Lily, and we also saw Charlie.
Some great performances. They're such talented kids.
They're
great
all
singers.
So good. I cannot wait to go to their next performance.
Yeah.
And it'll be
So talented, very humble, and it was great. There was just a great performance from everyone, and they were just taking pictures and just embracing everyone.
I'm so glad you guys had fun and got to take some cool pictures yourselves.
Yeah, and they said that they would love to come back, so hopefully.
We would love to have them always. Yeah, we'll work on that for sure. Want to get into some predictions?
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
Ooh, I think. I know it's a deep,
okay,
dark
we get it.
prediction.
We get it, Lemieux.
So who wants to start? Predictions? Do you want me to start?
I predict that I will be cliffhangered forever, and I agree with you on that. We're not going to find out who Ryder's mystery woman lady is, and that makes me sad.
Yeah, I don't think we'll find out about her until the finale, at least. They're definitely going to hold that off. I'm interested into seeing how Rachel and Finn are going to react to this alleged, shooting at the school. Like how they're going to, how that going to affect their relationship. Like, oh, I wonder if my friends are okay and all that.
And we didn't see any of them tonight in today's episode.
I'm worried that she's going to find out right before her Rachel's going to find out right before her big audition for Broadway, and it's going to mess her up in some way, like that it's going to emotionally affect her. We also see next week that Puck's going to college and Nene Leakes is back, so there's lots going on Glee next week.
We also saw Idina Menzel.
Yeah, I mean, so we're getting major guest stars next week, so it's going to be a fun episode, hopefully a little different than this one. We can come in here and sing and do all the fun things we normally get to do, but you can tweet at us. You can tweet AfterBuzz at AfterBuzz TV. You can tweet me at Stephanie Wenger.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Serafini TV.
And I am on Twitter at Sarah with an H Mendoza, and on Instagram at Sarah Grace Mendoza.
Great. Well, thank you so much for watching, and I'm excited for what's to come here. We have a few more episodes of Glee this season, so check us out next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.